Hey, I'm Grant. Welcome to Stay the Channel for January's things to talk about. It's been a pretty easy week. I'm finally over the giant lump that is like the holidays where there's just like no time to get anything done. So I have the podcast coming out this week, or I guess not this week. I'm going to be filming it this week. It's going to come out on Monday. That's a new thing that I think is going to be a big deal. Like, ultimately, it really is only like a simple shift, but I think that's going to be a big deal and saving me time. I got some days off I'm using to help get everything going with the new year, get things going pretty strong, hopefully. I've said before I've been working on some like live action stuff, and I have at least one short that I'd like to put together. It's filmed, it's really clunky, honestly. Like, there's so many things I would change, but at the same time I see why I would do it that way. Like, for example, we filmed over my kitchen, and there's a point where the continuity is just, I think, pretty obvious if you look for it, that there's a thing there in the one shot that's not there in the other shots. And I can totally tell you why. And we filmed it that way because there's another thing you would see if we didn't film it at a certain camera angle. And it would just look bad. Just, you would see more stuff in the background. And it's like, I can totally get why, but man, I would just really wish I could go back and change that. But it's not really possible. So I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to get that out, and I want to really sit on this one. Like, that's the thing, is I want to really just like pour over this again and again and really learn everything I can. Like, one of the big things that I knew going in would be an issue is I don't know how to capture sound for live action things like that. Like, obviously the podcast is easy because honestly you're just sitting on the couch and I can have a microphone like right up here. That's not a weird thing. But if I'm supposed to be filming me talking to someone, this is a little weird. And even though we did use actually those same mics for this short, you can tell like the fact that they're not right up on you means it's not as good as it can sound. It's got like that echoey ring to it because it's in a big room. I don't have a mic like this that's really right to the point. So I learned that, and I'd like to clean that up as much as possible, but I would love to get that out maybe this week, if not next week, just as a thing. It's really, again, like, I view this channel as more of a place to submit my homework is the way I think about it. Like, it's something where it's like, hey, if I have to hold myself to this standard of putting it out, then I won't do stuff like, oh, I filmed it and got the idea, but then I saw it really wasn't what I wanted, and I'm like, oh, well, I just wish I could do the next thing. It'd be really easy to just like drop the project and not go to the full length of learning everything I could from each instance of it before I start the other. So basically my point is, by actually having to force myself to put it out there, it's very helpful in teaching, even if it's not intended to be watched. Like, it's not like I'm putting this out there saying this is the best thing I could ever do. It's just there to be like, hey, look, I did it. I held myself to that standard and that timeline, and that's what was important. Exciting though. I'm hoping this, with this coming month, I'll do a couple things. One is I want to get the OSRS stuff going again. And it's weird because that stuff isn't particularly hard to make, but I want to change the format. I think one of the things I really want to do with it is I want to do something, honestly, a little bit more like this, where it's live action. I think that'd be a nice little niche for it. Is if you ever go watch anything for that game, it's basically everyone just using game footage, which honestly looks terrible. The graphics are from like 2007, so whatever. And I think, oh well, I'm thinking I could carve out a nice little niche if I actually did live action with it. Just very simple, where it's like, hey, it's me talking. It's more like a talk show, if that's the term, versus let me just talk over any old game footage. Like, that's something I think that is just so easy to do. I could kind of set myself apart, as well as start practicing those skills that I would need for, say, the like live action stuff. Like, that's a good example where I don't want to have a mic right up here when I'm doing it for that kind of stuff. I want to learn how can I still get good audio without it being obvious that I have a mic somewhere and doesn't constrain me from, say, moving around a lot. So things like getting a shotgun mic, maybe getting a lav mic, and really knowing how to best secure this, looking at how, like right now, this is easy because I actually record this straight into my phone, which is what I use to record these videos. So it's easy. Well, what do I have to do if I, say, record to my phone, but my actual main image is coming from a different camera? How do I do that? That's something I just gotta learn. Point being is I want to start that. Not that I'll actually make the videos, but just to get into like a rhythm. Because what I like about those is there's a lot of videos that I do that I'm constrained by time or just like nature. Like right now, it's a huge pain to light videos. Like right now, it's currently like 5 o'clock. It's still winter. It is dark out basically. So this lighting here is really the best I can do unless I want to spend an extra 20 minutes getting all my lights out. And sure, I could leave them out. I could. But that's a huge pain. Huge pain. But it's also a huge pain to put them away. So that's what I like about the OSR's videos, is I don't actually have to do it all at once. If I, say, have time at 10 p.m. at night when I can't light it, I could write it, you know, or I could do a dress rehearsal. And the same with all the live action videos, like, I can do that, you know, kind of without, I can work on it without actually filming it, if that makes sense. Whereas you look at something like a podcast, like, that is like live, it's like a broadcast show, kind of. I have to sit down and we have to do it, you know, so if it's at 10 p.m., it's just like, the lighting is just going to be worse because of it. There's nothing I can do about that. Although I do also have some time earmarked to look for some better solutions for that. I'm looking at getting a nice lighting bank in addition to the lights I have, just to hopefully flesh things out more. Because if you see, like, a lot of my videos, like, I have light, but it's not enough light for the space, in particular because I need several lights. Like, that's a big thing I think that is easy to not notice, is I can have one light, but if you have one really bright light, you get the shadows, like, kind of, I think, what's going on behind me, where it's like really drawn out and it looks strained, is the way I really feel like it comes across, where you can tell, like, there's a good light, but it just can't quite fill everything. And I'm hoping to improve that, really. So lots of little things, like lots of just like tiny little things going on, and hopefully a couple other big projects. I'm honestly starting up with 2019. It's all just things that they just need time. That's really the hard thing, where it's like I sit down here every Sunday and I make this video. I talk about, I gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. I'm like, don't know where I'm gonna find the time slots to put all that stuff in, because many of them are super dependent. Like I said, the filming really in the winter only can really happen until 6 p.m. I think, unless I want the lights to be like, meh. Or it's like I just have other things going on that I have to take care of. So it's why I'm actually really looking forward to having some time off from work, just to be like, hey, I'm going to get up 6:30 a.m., regular time, and you know what? I'm going to shop for light panels. You know, in many ways, that's probably not the most exciting use of PTO, but it'd be nice to actually have time to sit down and do that. And it's not even like they're that expensive. Like, that's one thing I always notice, is people will come over for like the podcast and they're like, oh my God, you have this huge eccentric setup. And it's like, I get why a giant box light looks like I spent like $1,000 on this, but realistically, it's a light bulb on like a $5 stand. So it's not bad. It's just hard to find the right one. And there's so many different types. It's really hard to like know you're getting the right thing. Because also I don't want to buy like 100 different kinds of lights, because I don't really do that much, where I need like a ring light and box lights and like floodlights and different color LEDs. I don't really need all that. I just need to figure out what I need for my own particular purposes. So I think that's enough said for the week. I've been going through plenty of other stuff with coding in the background. I'm really hoping to also, over the long weekend, start off some coding projects. That's something that's really important to me. Been looking at doing some simple projects over on GitHub, which is just basically open source. So I would join a previously existing project and say, hey, I worked on this tiny little fix, submit that. So I'm used to like kind of the different practices of working in different types of software and how to like document that myself, things like that. Because I think that's ultimately where I would like this effort to go, is not just this channel, but to slowly build up a plethora of things that I can kind of all attribute to my name. That's why I've been talking a lot about like coding, because yeah, I would like a website, but it's going to be more than just that. Like, there's more things I want to do than that. And it's really easy to make videos because I can just like make one and put it out. But like the coding is something I want to come. It just takes a while. So I know I have so many weeks where I'm like, I'm 10% farther on that than I was the weekend before. But unfortunately, that was just, you know, me reading a book for 10 hours. So I don't really have much to show for that, other than if someone wants me to get up on this show and talk about different Java constructor patterns. I could do that, but that's not as exciting as talking about things that are coming up, or things I hope to eventually do with the channel. So anyway, my name's Grant. This is the State of the Channel for January 7th. As always, you can reach me at taken4grantd.com, or at my email, which is taken4grantd.com/grant, or my Twitter, which is at taken4grantd. It's always in the description if you're ever curious. I always have that open. And I guess I'll be back again next week, hopefully with some more updates. Bye.